royal family. It was not because the king replied to him.
There's another point to this.
Yeah. So the king, I was surprised that the king replies to him, giving those four properties that he had asked for. And then I traced in Moira. Those four properties are still in that one branch of that family. It's not our branch of the family, but it's original branch of the family. And they still have that Diogo de Souza
name. Keeping repeating
in the family.
Names repeat.
And it's really that below the Sasabastian chapel that goes right from up till down. So that was just by chance. So I was not even looking for it, but was happy to find it and could use it. Now, do you expect me to do this exercise for everybody else's father and grandfather?
Why not?
I would do nothing else in life.
No, isn't it that the methodologies you sometimes tend to suit your own ideologies?
Not ideology. This is like you start your history. You start with yourself. I can't start with somebody else's history because it's difficult.
So how difficult or how easy was it to find documents in the 1970s? In the 1970s when you were doing your research, how easy or how difficult was it to access the archives?
Those were different times. Because when I arrived in Go Archives, it had no bureaucracy that we have now. I was given access even to the shelves. You won't believe it. Gune would let me go right inside and pick up the books. And there was trust. There was only Gatkar, Gune, and a couple of other fellows. Now Gune made it after that. He created a whole bureaucracy. So now you know what it is. You ask a book before 4 o'clock, you ask a book before, and then you read it within the limited hours of time. And sometimes there are many books which the inventory says one thing, the book is about something else. It happened to me several times now. So the book has nothing to do with what you read in the catalog. And I still managed to find the right book, because somehow after many years of work, you develop a nose for it. So I can read the book diagonally, I can read this. And then both the inventories were wrong, the printed one and the handwritten one. So I wanted to look for those who were deported to Timor. And there's only one book. But I discovered it. So this is the difficulties of doing research in this archives, or any archive, but here even more. So it's horrible. And I know, for instance, one past experience when I could go inside. So I had made a list, I still have it, a list of 25 books, there must be many more, of wrong titles and wrong contents from what is shown into the catalog. And in my book, Medieval Goa, I can say that now, I have given references which are not correct references. And one of the researchers, one who was working in the archives at that time, in an international conference, presented a paper. He was quoting my book as if he had read that book, and which was one of those wrong references I put in the book. I asked him, have you read it? He said, yes. I told him that book does not exist. I said, you are working in the archives. You should have a facility of checking it. Somebody from outside may not, but you are there, and you have not read it. And you are quoting, say that you are quoting me. And that was the end of his research.
So how difficult is the language for someone knowing Portuguese?
It's impossible. Today there was one Dominican there. So he has been sent to do research. They are celebrating 800 years of the Dominicans in Dominican order. So he wants to make a list of the Dominican properties here in Goa, in Konkan. So he had written to me once by email. So I do not know him personally. I met him personally today. And he comes with a list which was done about 20 years ago by an American who was here, Father Fenning. I knew him well. So he had consulted one series of documents, which are many volumes. So that's why if you go into the archives and do the history of every mudikar there, you will know how easy it is or how difficult. You have hundreds and hundreds of volumes and without any indication of what they contain. So you go by the nose. So I gave him about 25 volumes to consult, but he says, I don't read Portuguese. So how can you do any research if you don't read Portuguese?
Is it an antiquated form of the language, or is it understandable by?
No, it's not modern Portuguese. He had brought a lady with him also, Jackish from Nepal, to help him to read. But she could not follow the Portuguese of those documents because the vocabulary is different, constructions are different. So it takes years and years of getting used to it. And so only when...
Researchers on British India are probably better placed than
I would say so. It's not as difficult as the Portuguese.
it's more recent also.
And especially then handwriting also. So there is some centuries which is easier to read. Some centuries are difficult. Then the paper is also well preserved for 16th, 17th century. From the 19th century it becomes bad paper. You might think that recent documents are easy to read. It's opposite. So it's a bad paper and that ink has eaten into the paper also. So you can lift the paper and read through the holes. Because the ink has eaten through the paper. And there was one volume on Timor which I wanted to read. It was a marvelous book, but I had to return it because I would be the last reader of the book. So it has become completely brittle, falls to pieces. So I said, no, I will not read it. I gave it to them and I said, put in for fumigation because it might help. But it's an excellent book on Timor, which I needed so much. But I can look for it in Portugal because many of those are available in Portugal because they are not duplicate. They are duplicates, but then they have more information than the documents here. Because then there are marginal notes put by authorities there. So it's a document which was sent from here, but then the authorities there, so if it is sent to the judiciary, they put marginal notes there. So you got to know how they reacted to the document information from here. Then if it was Conselho Ultramarine, they put their marginal notes. So there are differences. But those are richer there on the other side and better preserved due to climate. Here there's nothing to be done. Weather does not help.
What's the possibility of putting all this material digitally? Would they be like
that's the only solution actually. And I think they had funds to do it, at least partially. They didn't do it.
Doctor, sorry.
The documents with the Portuguese left from say 1600 to whatever 19th century, 20th century, we are still referring. To put them in a digital form, I don't say we have to have copies. The technology is changing into every 5 years, 10 years, and machinery is not available. The parts are not available, which I have written a paper when we completed 500 years of archives. So putting everything on digital, we can take out copies after taking it off digitally, but that digital format also is not going to help us more than 50 years.
Yes, it has to be transferred to other
yes,
systems.
and every generation of computer is entirely different. So this concept of saying that we can convert it into computerization is not possible.
But it does help to some extent.
It does help.
For example.
But doctor, we are going for the obsolete technologies now. You see, even Kindle, they are taking Mobi, they are not taking EPUB, which is an open standard, because all these guys want us to lock us into their standard. Now some years back we went in for your what is it called, in your scanning of documents, the microfilming. Microfilming. So now if we follow Google and things like that, we cannot be wrong,
No.
by and large.
No microfilming at all. Because now
It's dead, it's dead.
microfilming, those older documents are still bad. If you go to Times of India, you will find the modern technology they have used. See, if you want to refer to any old newspaper in Times of India, it is today, even from Central Library when people go, it costs you around 500 rupees for hardly any page.
Yeah.
Because just to give you access and a particular thing, they charge you so much money. Then they take you money for that copy of that. And it's hell of a odd thing. Means you have to send one person to Bombay. You have to. I mean, it's a very difficult thing. I mean, it's not so very easy.
The private sector is making money out of it. The government sector is making it dead. So who do we depend on? That is the issue now.
The thing. So
Neither this nor that.
What Portuguese did.
Finally, Google will digitize all our books.
Yeah, that is.
For our own ancestry, we'll have to go to Church of Latter Day Saints. They have all our records.
Slaves as copiers. So we can have some people as copiers on original papers, like say it will last for some time, or a handmade paper.
No, Google has a way out. No, the Google is going ahead and scanning all our books, whether we want it or not. So they are scanning all of them, and they are saying they are using it in search. They cannot be wrong, because they have foresight of the future. No, there are billions involved in this.
But there are many documents now. People here sometimes they don't could use and they don't
Yes.
use. Inquisition records in Torlitom are being digitalized and they are available
Online.
online. So you can download them, print them. Because sometimes people don't know it.
Becomes much more accessible.
Christian birth records are with the Church of the Latter Day Saints,
Also,
Mormons. So our guys, if you go here, they are very suspicious. But there you can get it easily.
one of our chaps, I would mention him, those who don't know, one Richard de Souza from Moira.
Moira.
So he is based in London, and he has practically digitalized all the birth records and then the marriage records from Moira, and those related to Moira in other parishes.
Yeah.
Single young fellow. So I think we need those kind of youngsters who are a little crazy.
There is Albert Govia who had throat cancer and he couldn't talk for 3 months. So he started digitizing Govias. He got 1500, 1600 across the world. All Govias. They are all probably connected to Sukkot and...
So this Richard, if you write to
Richard.
anybody, he sends
Yes.
you reply immediately. And even sends you the record that he digitalized record. He's about 25 or
Yeah.
26 years old. But he has reached quite far. But if anybody who has got anyone married in Moira or connected with Moira, you can get the information from him, including yourself.
What did Marianne Saldana actually find of Krishnaraj Sharma? We were just discussing it on the net.
No, Marianne
Professor.
Saldana actually supplied many of those documents to Priolkar and others when he was in Portugal. So he would not have that kind of, he would have good relations with Bombay University. Whatever he could supply, he would supply. Actually, I took his collection to the Xavier Center. So he came back and died here in Goa. He was already he was about to complete 100 years. So he was dead.
At Basora?
Especially if I spoke to him about giving his collection to me, he would not hear anything. So otherwise he would hear something.
Selectively.
Yeah. So then he was completely deaf. So only after he died, his nephew, he gave me the collection.
What is the scope of digitizing these private archives? Because there were many universities which were talking about it. I think the last was this.
Actually, there is a project actually from the British Library. They sent to me, even they sent me 2 or 3 projects, including one of digitalizing Russia's and collection. So they funded it. I do not know what happened to it. Anyway, one lady librarian of Chokle College was responsible.
Yeah.
And the project had come to me for approval from British Library.
She has done
So
it, doctor. Some things they have done. Some things they have done. That is where I got a copy of this Confraria. Who? This is your friend, the former priest, no? Liao. What is his name? He is now in Portugal. Leopold Rocha.
But so they are. So only people should ask for help. There is money.
Pointers for further research? What do you
I have
think?
already given the pointers, request, the proposal, project proposal. So only I think Celsa see what you can do. Because I consider Celsa here as a hardcore historian. Yeah, she is still young to follow up these things. So see, and you can't do it only by yourself. So you have to get others socialized, and our book will be out very soon. Great book. So we will know much more about Menezes Braganza. Pia has done her book of the library the other day. And I must still say mea culpa because she invited me to speak about her book and I didn't speak about it. I got so lost in speaking about other things. So there was no intention about it. But she is there with long experience of the libraries. So I think we have here all the material, human material. Only what you need is to get together and rope in fellows like who are engineers and other things.
Professor, I'd like to ask one more thing about your research. Have you ever come across any of these missionaries who came to Goa? Because they were master astronomers, these people who came here. Like Jesuits, they were great
I
astronomers.
have just published an article on this. It's a Berlin Missionary Society volume, published in Berlin, about this transfer of knowledge in the 17th, 18th centuries. And there are connections between those Jesuits, many of them who came here or in China, India or China. They were students of Clausius. There was a great head of the astronomical laboratory of Vatican. So he was at that time invited, he was a German astronomer, and he was invited to help to change the calendar. You remember, so in 16th century change of calendar, the Julian calendar, Gregorian calendar. Because the church was worried that Easter might fall in summer. So that's the whole project. Yeah, slowly it was blending into summer. So it loses entirely the meaning of Easter. It should be spring. So they had to juggle with the calendar. So he was called in. He even went to Portugal. You see, there are these kind of things have to be studied. He went to Portugal because Portugal at that time had a great master mathematician, astronomer, Diogo Nunes. He is quite famous. He had even invented a tool for navigation of the ships, Nonios. It's called Nonios because of Nunes, Diogo Nunes. And this Jesuit went to Coimbra to listen to him, his lectures. And then later on, many of his students came Jesuits of German origin, came to China. Others, Italians, came to India. South India in particular, and he maintained regular correspondence with them. They wanted them to submit to him the knowledge of these countries. And the curious thing, the Jesuits from South India saying that there's always the pretension that they don't mention ever who was the local source who gave them the information. They always present it as themselves. But we come to know, indirectly they say that these chaps may calculate the eclipses and things like nothing, very quickly. But they'll never tell you how they do it. And they are supplying the information to him. And many of them submitted their information independently also to the French Academy and German academies. So all these things are available. So that's
I just took out this topic because today while coming from Margao, I found one of the sundial which was rediscovered by Satish Naik, president of Friends of Astronomy. It has been thrown down, destroyed. Someone, while it's just next to the church of Verna. I saw it. Maybe it is a headline tomorrow.
Rashol they have one, no? Rashol they have
Rashol,
a
there is
sundial.
one more. Most of the churches, old churches in 15th, 16th century, they had the sundials, the ancient
there
watches.
is
Yeah.
an inner courtyard.
Yeah.
One of the walls.
This is a small piece, tire shape. This.
And they are shaped like a skirt
Yeah.
with dividing into.
Pillar you can, Rashol you can see it very clearly.
But that,
on the walls.
That
This
stick
is
has
dated
fallen
today.
off.
I found it
this,
today.
this sundial was mounted about 10-15 years back when we went to the archaeology officers to see the mother goddess on top of the mountain there. This is at the foothill.
Yeah, yeah. Just
And
next to
then
the church.
Yes, and then the police station, and then you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the mother goddess from Kurdi transplanted there. At that point of time, it was mounted. Today, with the sun and rain, it,
No, today I found it discreted, just thrown
it,
down.
it was in the open. It was in
Till
front,
day before yesterday it was okay, but last night
right
or today.
outside the house.
Yeah, yeah. It is.
But as you know, in China, the Jesuits became the directors of the astronomical department. Ritchie was the head of the
No,
astronomical
someone has broken it. Someone has desecrated it.
Now,
Today. While coming from Margao, I saw it. I stopped there. I just this.
somebody has to be really strong. to do
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's a big one, and it was cemented to that this post.
It was cemented.
It was cemented. Someone has done it with some force.
Is there any research on Africans in Goa? About the Africans in Goa?
The Africans in Goa, we had a big seminar here in 2000 and
Tadia.
Tadia.
There's a network.
There is a German lady who is teaching in Oxford. Her name is Margaret Friends. She has got this project, and I had taken her around also in Goa to interview. She wanted to conduct interviews. So I don't know what is the state of her work, but she has certainly started this project. Otherwise, she has written on the Rajas of Kerala. Her parents were teaching in Madurai.
But you can get hold of this volume which was published after this conference, big volume, Tadia volume. It was all about the Africans in India. And about Goa, I contributed there the whole contents of a manuscript which is in the Goa archives. It's about the manumission of slaves. So there is a list, complete list of slaves, not only black slaves, many of them are black, but then there are slaves from Bengal and elsewhere, from the Ghats, beyond the Ghats. So it's all name, caste or origin, age, and all of that. It was the book which was maintained by a priest called the Father of the Christians,
By the Krista.
Pais Krishna. So he had the obligation of following up each of them to make sure that of their welfare. If it was a young lady that he had to get her married, and then after so many years of service, he could redeem her or ask the owner to release her. So that was the job of the Father of the Christians. So there are lists of them, about at least 500 slaves.
Shamin is from Moira and settled in Moira with David, and she specializes in interpreting dreams.
Dreams.
She spoke at.
So tell us about our dreams.
You have to confess your dream first, then you get the interpretation. So it's quite embarrassing. She gave a talk at Aldona recently at Savio Figueiredo's.
I think it was a common dream is to see that the heritage of Goa survives.
Survives.
Not those dreams, huh? She interprets real dreams. Real dreams.
Mrs. Joseph.
There is a book
What
on
do you
bones
think
in
about
Kenya.
that thing that your old people shall dream dreams and your young men shall see visions? That's what the Bible says. Old people can't have visions. We can only dream about their past frustrations.
The vision is of the future.
Question about these slaves.
There is
Also dealing with
bones
slaves.
can be beyond the other way.
Shraddha Mama once told me that they used to get some slaves along with slaves which were community and
Those records are there. I have used them partly into one article, which is called, and that made me even go to visit Mauritius 3 years ago, because they used to bring, they were adventurers, French adventurers who were in Mauritius. They would pick up slaves in Mozambique and sell them in Asia through the Mamais. So Mamais were the middlemen. So those slaves would go to various parts, to Ceylon, to Macau, other places. So they give descriptions, type of slaves we want. Males, well-built, who know to play bugle. All those descriptions are there. So the prices are there. Yeah. So those records are there. Female slaves also, specifications. Yes. There are records which are organized already. The only problem will be language of the document, because those documents are in Portuguese, French, English, Kannada, Marathi. They are in all these languages. And they are about 200,000 papers.
Of course, one rule.
Who has used them and can say more is Celsa. She has used them extensively for her books.
Celsa has done a book on which book? Which book? Trade and Finance in Portuguese India. And Jeanette Pinto has written on slavery in Goa. Yeah.
The French papers have been used from Mamai collection by Ernestine Carrera, whose book
Ernestine
we have
Carrera.
published. So she has used all the French documents of Mamai collection.
As you know, we don't formally close, so we wait till people get tired and leave one by one. It can go on till 12 o'clock. After that, we'll be thrown out. But just a small commercial announcement, since Augusto says who will write the histories.
I want that book.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, Augusto said who will write the histories. We are releasing a book on the Gauda community, and one of its leaders, Anton Francis Fernandez, some of you might know him, who passed away 3 years back. So it's on the 26th at Kelosi Church at 4:30. You're most welcome. Kelosi is a village just inside the Kortali. It's a tiny hamlet. Yeah. No, it's Our Lady of Health or something like that. Yeah, not Beaumont, some health or something. So you are most welcome. It's an open function. Okay, followed by dinner probably. He was an activist. So he has passed away. We used the excuse to do a book which is a tribute to him by Cyril Fernandez, and also a focus on the community. So a lot of interesting pictures, including the Mand, the Mand, and of course some cultural pictures.
Supposed to send it to you in Portugal, but now I'm getting